what we're seeing in terms of, what guests are looking for. And what I've learned in the past is, if someone was struggling with getting business or dealing with travelers, it was because they didn't understand what the guest is looking for or what they value or where they are. So I'm going to share what we have observed in the past. I'm going to start with some data of the platform, and then also talk about some of the soft factors like communication. Thanks to the large traffic on the platform, we are able to extract a lot of patterns and like this search phrases that users and travelers are typing. And if we structure it, these are the top 20 search phrases overall, excluding places and destinations. Of course, lakes, festivals, horse, canyons, trekking activities. It's a mixture of keywords that are very important for your guests. And the second half of this slide shows the example for Uzbekistan in terms of top 10 activities, top 10 interests, and top 10 places they are visiting. And that's the Uzbekistan travel profile that I published in LinkedIn. You can find other countries of Central Asia there as well. If you're looking for your country-specific data, we've published all of them in my LinkedIn profile. Now, who is using the platform? It's half of the travelers, almost half of them are Europeans, 34% from Asia, 13% from North America, and then Australia and the rest. And they book all kinds of trips, from one-day trips and city tours to multi-week trips and expeditions, equally distributed. So we have all kinds of trips that are in demand. And this might surprise you, 32% of them are solo travelers, so traveling by themselves, looking for others to join. They are very flexible, very open for suggestions, so they accept almost anything, I'd say. And then we have the biggest share are couples or two friends, traveling together. And then we have small groups, 10 to 20%, and large groups, 10 to 20%. 60% male bookers, 40% female bookers. That's also due to probably the biggest share of the solo travelers are male solo travelers. So that's one explanation. And the age demographic is the average traveler on Indy Guide is 44 years old. So we have about 20% of budget travelers, young travelers, students who are looking for cheap options. Price is the most important factor for them. But 80% of travelers, they are looking for quality and great service. So this might be a misperception about platforms. It's not all about the price. It's quality first for most travelers. When you travel with your family or with your partner, Central Asia is usually it's not your regular destination. It's not your regular vacation. It's a once in a lifetime experience. It's probably they probably don't want to return to Central Asia. So it's usually a far trip to an unknown place. They don't want to risk it in order to save $100 on a 10-day trip. And what's also a specialty of Central Asia and also in Uzbekistan in particular is, most travelers usually visit more than one country if they visit Central Asia. So Uzbekistan travelers, 55% of them visit not only Uzbekistan, so they also visit, that's in descending order, Kyrgyzstan, then with Kazakhstan, and also Tajikistan. Some even all of them. So that's the destination matrix here based on the Indy Guide travelers. Travelers visiting Uzbekistan, for example, also visit Kyrgyzstan in most of the cases. So, working with your partners in Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan and Tajikistan, that's what you need to have to address and reach the whole potential of your business. So they want, and usually if it's a multi-country trip, they need more expertise, more professional services, and that's also where your margin and profitability is higher if it's a multi-country trip, because it's also a less competitive market for you as well. And the demanded services of travelers, it's, of course, many are looking for a guide, and almost half of them are looking for private tour packages. some for drivers. It's for transfers mostly, between cities. 20% for group tours. These are mostly the solo travelers who are willing to join others and looking for budget options. And 30% are also looking for rental cars. I wanted to emphasize the population of solo travelers, because I think that's a growing population based on the development of societies, particularly in Europe. And more people will be traveling alone by themselves in the future. So it's now, I said overall, it's 32%, but as you can see, depending on the destination, there's a huge difference. Azerbaijan has only 17% of solo travelers, whereas Turkmenistan has 47%, Tajikistan 43%. So that's a very important population of travelers that you need to be able to address. Travel season, of course, you know that. That's a seasonal business. Most destinations have the peaks in summer. Uzbekistan has 2 peaks in spring and autumn. I think all destinations have a huge potential in winter tourism. So especially probably this year, if everything, when season, the traveling resumes in September, October, November, maybe. So there's a great potential for winter trips as well. How do they plan and book? Usually it takes they start the planning 3 months before the trip starts. That's the average. But as you can see, there's, depending on the season, it's much shorter in summer and larger in winter. It also means, like, for example, in winter months, December, January, February, you're selling the more expensive tours and probably more profitable tours. Less but higher volumes. So that means winter is not a lazy season at all. It's also a great season to get some big business as well. And winter bookers are usually the ones who are more engaged, more educated. They've done more research. They have a better understanding what they are looking for. Whereas summer travelers, they just arrive and they are open and they don't know much, so they need your guidance. So you have all kinds of travelers also depending on the season. They spend hours and hours, days and days on the websites and also on Indy Guide's website. A few of them, hundreds of sessions. As you can see, but the majority are between 10 and 20, and each session can be around 30 minutes. So for every booking, even if it's a day trip on average, they spend 5 hours net time on the platform, browsing and clicking and chatting. And 42% of the bookings are made on mobile devices, and these are mostly the travelers, the summer travelers, young travelers who arrive, who are already in your country, and they want to book the next day or next weekend a trip. So they are very spontaneous and open, and they are just looking around and book if they see something they like. Maybe not very important, you might think, but we constantly observe that Wednesdays is the most productive day of the week. So it's not the weekend, because weekends are personal times. You go out, you meet friends, you don't want to spend your weekends planning and researching. But on Monday, when you go back to your office, you start planning your vacation. And the midday, when after 2 days of working and 2 days ahead of you before next weekend arrives, Wednesday are the most productive days when the most bookings happen. So make sure you're available on Wednesdays. And what we also see, the more listings you have, the more images you have. And of course, the more reviews you have, the more bookings you'll get. It's almost logical for most of you, but some of you don't act on that.